you, your counterpart, I saw the article that he put out there that, that we were protecting more of the edges and not the inside. And I didn't read the whole article, Chad, but it did catch my eye. And, I would tell you this, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Michigan's a good team. They run the ball well. They've got a real good running back. They do some unique things. And they had a plan when they came in here, and their plan was to move the ball on first and second down and get themselves into manageable third downs and not put a whole lot of pressure on their quarterback. However, their quarterback's, in my opinion, a real good player, but you could clearly tell what their plan was. And, we just didn't do a very good job. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses. They ran the ball. I wouldn't say exceptionally well. I would not say that. I think, they ran the ball 45 times for 170 some yards. I mean, there's a lot of carries there, but they just, we wore down to a certain degree. We weren't as stern up the middle, and that, that falls on the defensive line, falls on the linebacker unit. We didn't give up an explosive run, so to speak, but, there's some stuff that we've got to look at. We've got to shore up. Jack is obviously, I would tell you this, he'll be critical of himself if we give up 70 yards rushing. It's just kind of the way he is. And certainly that last play, I would tell you that that's not, it's not a position we want him in. Certainly wasn't a position that we expected him to be in there, but we were trying to sell out to try to grab another series defensively. But, we just, we were in the right place. If you go back and look at, we were in the right place. We were just losing some ground, which was adding to the 5 or 6 yard, 7 yard gains on first down, which you don't want to be in 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3. Those are opportunistic downs for an offense. And, they're not a good place to be in defensively. So we just, one of the key points to, this week with the linebackers is we have to win first down. We can't be, we can't allow an offense to be on schedule when they get into second down.
Tom Kakert.
Hey, Seth. Good to talk to you. Wanted to ask you, with Jestin out, how is that? Does that impact anything you guys can do schematically? And does that impact more cash or less cash for you guys based on what he could do?
No, it doesn't. Where it impacts us is it impacts us from a veteran standpoint, and having a guy out there that, has that opportunity to see a lot of these different pictures that they can give you on the perimeter of our defense. And, that's why you noticed last week that when we went to a 3 linebacker deal against 12 personnel, Seth Benson was actually out there at the Leo and Jay was at the Will. So Seth's really doing double duty between Cash at the Will and then 40 defense. He's out there at the Leo position. And a lot of that is because I believe that Jay is the next best linebacker to go in the game. Well, then who is our next best Leo to assume that position? Well, it would be Seth Benson, because he's got some history with the position earlier on in his career. So I would say no. And that's a credit to Jay Higgins, me answering that question in that way. I don't see us losing much there other than just, the experience that exists out there on the perimeter in the Leo position. And it doesn't affect whether we're going Cash or Leo. If a team's really trying to attack us run game wise on the perimeter, even in 11 personnel, we should probably find our way into 40 defense to ensure, that hardness out on the perimeter, hopefully that you'd get out of a linebacker. But Cooper does a great job. He's really done a really good job. And he's provided us with some flexibility out there on the perimeter.
David.
Hey, Seth, always good talking to you. I appreciate you taking the time.
Good seeing you, David.
Yeah. Jacob, Jestin, I think came in with, started off strong in that first half and that opener, obviously now set back for the remainder of the season. I guess just what conversations have you had with him just to kind of keep his spirits up? Because for a guy that, was on the NFL's radar to go down this early in the season, I imagine he's had some tough days and tough nights since the injury.
Yeah, a lot of David to not get into great depth, but a lot of those conversations I would tell you have been, private and, shared amongst a few in our building. But, this certainly it was hard. It's going to continue to be hard for a period of time on Jess. He went through his surgery earlier this week. His mom's up here. So it's unfortunate. It was certainly a surprise to him when this took place, second or third series against Rutgers. And, the news was shared with him on the sideline, which made matters worse. And then getting back at 4 a.m. and having a throbbing arm, like go down the list. But I would tell you, the conversations that I plan to have that, might have already taken place in some ways, or just, at some point, once we get this thing figured out, like, we got to look at the future and what opportunities are there. And I do expect him, I don't want to speak for Jess, but I do expect him to stick around for another year and double down on his opportunity and, help lead this team from a veteran standpoint. And, we'll obviously have some fresh faces out there next year, in the linebacker room. So, I think there's a positive outlook on it.
Scott Dochterman.
Yeah, Seth, kind of looking back at the spring, you had an opportunity to take a good look at Jay, at Kyler Fisher, Carson Shire, and then Shire, and you also have some other younger ones. How are they fitting in? How are they working in special teams? I think I've seen Jackson Rexroth out there and Carson. Are they right now kind of, are you looking ahead to maybe how they could work with you in 23 and 24?
Yeah, I think, if you guys look at those that are getting off the bus on Saturday morning, whether it be in Piscataway or whether it be, here for our home games, I think you'd find a group of guys, if you were to chart that, as you guys do, with, our fall scrimmage on who's healthy, who's out there on the field. I'm surprised you guys don't stand out there in the hawk walk and start charting to see who went to the hotel. Cause, those are the guys that right now we are counting on. And, a lot of that does, a lot of that exists in the special teams room as well. But, the guys that you're mentioning, Carson Shire, Jackson Rexroth, Jaden Harrell, Kyler Fisher, who am I leaving out? I'm leaving out, Zach Sweet. He's been traveling with us. It is that is a great, okay. And I say this, that is a great group of guys, guys that are eager, guys that are, itching to, do whatever they can for special teams wise, because what they've seen is they've seen that pattern exist over the last however many years since I've taken over coaching the linebackers, where, I'm very supportive of what we use, our linebackers for special teams wise, to include our starters. And, our guys know that that's kind of where this process starts. That's where they get their feet wet. And, you'll see all of those guys out there doing stuff for special teams wise. So then when their opportunity does come, whether it be Kyler Fisher at the will backer position or, just take a look at what Kyler did. It goes unnoticed, but take a look at what he did when Jess went down and we had to put him in there in our nickel package against Rutgers. And he only got one snap last week when we went nickel because we did a shitty job of getting him into third down. So we didn't go nickel much against Michigan. But the one rep that he went out there and covered a real good tight end with no issues and covered him in zero man, meaning he had no help in his responsibilities. So I think a lot of that just comes with the territory. Guys are paying their dues. And then when their number's called on, you hope that they can go out there and, have less anxiety than maybe somebody that's just thrown out there. But, I don't know that, what's a good example. I was telling one of the linebackers yesterday, we had one of the linebackers sit out of practice. I won't tell you who it was that had to sit out for a day, but another one had to jump in. Well, I'm sure he woke up that morning not thinking that he was going to have to go in there and assume, one of those second team roles. And then next thing you know, he's out there for, 55 snaps competing against our offense, competing against our scouts. And earlier that morning, if he wasn't wired right, he could have pissed away the whole day.
John Steppe.
Obviously, you're going up against another team that really likes to run the ball and a very capable running back with Chase Brown. What are your takeaways from looking at Illinois' run offense on film?
Yeah, I think, these guys have had a lot of success, and, based on what we know about their head coach and kind of how they're wired, it all starts with running the football. And, this is, like I said from the beginning, this is going to be a challenge for us. There's some stuff on tape, that, if you're a copycat team, which everybody is a copycat team, you try to find some things that have hurt you in the past, and you expect those to show back up. So we've got to shore up some stuff that, whether it goes all the way back to Iowa State or whether it be this past, most recently with Michigan or things in between, we've got to get that shored up run game wise, because, and I'm not here to evaluate, or share with you guys my thoughts on, where the offensive lines might differ, where the tight ends might differ. All of that does play a role in it. The one thing that doesn't differ is the running back position. And 2 weeks in a row, we're going against one of the nation's best running backs. And, you've got to take into consideration that even when things are blocked up and you've got it matched up real well, that a guy like that can still do damage to you. So we've just got to do a real good job of making sure that the numbers are right. We've got to do a real good job of making sure that we make adjustments that are necessary based on what we haven't seen. You got me, and certainly cover up what we have seen in the past.